All right, everybody. Thank you for hanging tight with us. A little bit of a late start, some fun tech shit on my end. So I apologize for that. But we are here. It is Wednesday, noonish, with the Metal Blade Live Series podcast, live cast. I'm here with a special guest, Mr. Bradley Zorgdrager of really like a lot of shit. Well, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself because you're a man of many hats, and I don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, I I got my start out doing journalism. I wrote for Exclaim, and then I became the metal editor there. I started doing on-camera reviews at Banger TV. I wrote for a bunch of other publications, um, and then I've toured a bunch with bands, selling merch, tour managing, all that. Uh, kind of got into PR just because I know kind of how to play that game because of doing journalism, and now I do marketing and management for bands. Uh, Lots of bands.
Yes, lots of bands. I have a list here. So it's what? Brand of Sacrifice, Of Sulfur, Carcosa, Aborted, Carnifex, Signs of the Swarm, all great bands. I toured with Signs in 2019 as part of the Bloodletting tour with my band Continuum. Great dudes. I love those guys. I'm very excited for their new stuff that they've been hyping.
I feel like I met you there at the Toronto one.
Oh,
That was
maybe.
Distant Tomb, right? Like I feel like I
Yeah.
said like the briefest thing to you. I think I was just like, "Oh, dude, you're in this other band." You're like, I said one of your fucking
Yeah.
20 bands or whatever. Like, you're in this other band, right? And you're like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Sick," and that was it. That was
That
the
was it.
time
That
I met them as well.
was
Um, and yeah, I work for a band Nightwell as well, which most people listening or watching this might not be into. It's like it's emo and like really poppy pop punk kind of stuff. And then I work with Kardashev ish. It's not. It's like we're flirting. We're
yeah.
like courting each other. We
Yeah.
work together on some stuff as far as just I just enjoy talking to Nico. He's brilliant. So
Oh yeah.
we've talked a bunch and thrown ideas around, but it was kind of pushing a re-release, which is weird. Pushing a re-release because all of your already existing fans are already they already have it, so it's not exciting for them. So it's harder for them to push it as much as they would push a normal release. So
Yeah.
it's just like a bit of a weird thing, right? So that being said, I think they did some cool shit, and hopefully some of my ideas helped. But I am looking forward to them doing an LP, and hopefully we can do some real stuff together. Oh, I'm in the
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah.
I'm in this chat right now as Of Sulfur, so I need to log into my own thing. All of my YouTube channels. I don't want
they're
that.
the Card Chef guys are great dudes. I did a Metal Blade D&D campaign with a couple of them, and yeah, Nico was always just cracking me up the entire time. It's interesting though what you say about like re-releases or repressings, because you're right. It's like a very time-specific type of thing. Like you only want to do something like that right after you've gained a bunch of traction and momentum to like like show like dual purpose showcase that back catalog, but then also like get your new fans acquainted with your older material in like a fun, exciting way. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's weird. It's a
yeah.
weird balancing act for sure. Yeah, no.
As most things are. So let's start uh, by going back to some of your journalism stuff. As much as I want to talk about your music management like this whole time because that stuff is so interesting to me. But uh, journalism. So you've written about music for over 10 years. You mentioned, working with Banger. You're the metal editor at Exclaim. What have you learned really kind of like along the way doing metal journalism or music journalism in general? And do you think that there will always be a place for like those physical magazines that have those big like, publication pieces and those double page spreads and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, at this point, physical magazines are cool, and it's more of like a flex in a way, I guess. Like if you're like, wow, I got in the print, it's cool, it's nice to post on your socials.
Yeah.
But getting a good article online probably moves the needle for you a little bit more. All that being said, it's probably never gonna fully die. it's dipping down now, but think about fucking tapes and vinyl coming back. You
Yeah.
know, there are going to be fetishists who come around, and I think like magazines like Alt Press and Revolver are really poised to do well in that time frame because their magazines look fucking great.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Revolver doesn't even look like a music magazine. It looks like a fucking fashion magazine or something. It looks awesome. And Alt Press, dude, I wrote a cover story for this band Bad Omens, and Brand of Sacrifice is in that issue, so I had to, you know, get a few copies, and they hooked it up, and dude, like the covers are like nice and matte, but with some like glossy like touch or spot varnishes. It looks awesome. So as far as like collector's items, I mean, which is what it will probably move more and more towards, they're in a great position for that. As far as what I learned from journalism, I feel like I owe my entire career to it in a way, because I feel like the reason that I'm successful in any way, shape, or form in the industry is because I've been on the flip side of it. So when I'm doing journalism, I can think as a person, as a PR person. Not that I've ever been a full PR person, but I did like a little record label when I was younger, only to realize I don't want to do a record label.
Yeah.
But you know, I would do PR for that, or like when I manage bands, like, you know, sometimes I just do PR stuff myself because it's expensive sometimes, and I got a lot of homies in journalism because I, you know, done it for 10 years. You know, when I'm tour managing, I can think like a production manager because I've done that back home and all this stuff. So I think that that wider mindset has kind of allowed me to flourish. But more specifically, what I've learned in journalism would be that I learned what works, you know, what people will react to, what stories are good. And when you're doing marketing and management for bands, you're still doing the same thing. You're just not writing those stories. You're packaging those stories and putting them out there in bios or in pointers or in pitches. And then you have these people tell them, but you're basically, I'm doing the job where I come up with the ideas and then I have other people write them in this case. But I kind of like learned what works and what connects with people and what doesn't, and also how to promote stuff on no budget, because there is very little money in journalism.
Yeah.
In year 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, I guess that's kind of what I learned is what works, how to promote stuff, and how to do it on very little budget, as well as like a more, I don't think the word's holistic, but I can't think of the right word right now. But point of view of the industry that allows me to approach everything thinking how the other person would think, and therefore give them what they want and also treat them with a little bit more respect, because I know what they're going through. You know?
Right. Well, and so that's a really interesting topic that I kind of want to dive into a little bit, about like what works, right, and what doesn't, and all that kind of stuff. And I know, you know, there's a reason bands go to you because you have this pool of knowledge. I don't want you to give away the farm or anything like that, but I think it's an interesting topic to talk about a little bit. You know, whether or not having someone like a digital marketing manager is more important than a traditional manager these days, and you know how you get creative with these marketing ideas and how you garner attention for your bands through all the noise that's out there. Like you look at Signs of the Swarm, for example, who, you know, is going to be probably my go-to example during this conversation, because I actually know those guys and love their music. But you know, they've always been kind of on the radar. You know, they started off with that like really, really popular Slam Worldwide video for Cesspool of Ignorance, and then they kind of like, you know, moved past that point of their development into like their newer sound, and now they're, you know, working with David, who's just this incredible vocalist, and they've established this really cool branding that's like modern deathcore meets this like kind of spooky vibe with lots of like flames and dirt, and like has this very particular like imaging to it that I think works really well for them, and it has like helped them grow. I've watched them grow from like being a, you know, sub 10K Instagram following to like now, you know, getting into that 100,000 territory. You know, how do you manage something like that and like turn something that has that much potential into what it has become kind of today?
I mean, it's funny because I have there are presentations floating out there that a couple people asked me for, and then they got sent around to various people about what we did with Brand of Sacrifice and with of Sulfur. And part of what they asked for was a like almost like a checklist of what a band needs to work with you, and best practices and stuff, which I think is that's the hardest thing to do, man. It's a fool's errand because there's no rules in this industry, really. And I think that trying to pin that down is difficult. So, for example, like one of the things I said is that a band needs to have some kind of image, some kind of identity, a brand identity, if you want to say that, which I'm sure a lot of people know, because a lot of people like to think that the music industry isn't a business, isn't commodified, but it is.
Yeah.
And if you want to just play music in your garage and do what you want and not worry about that stuff, that's your prerogative. But as soon as you want to get in the business side of things, get in the business side of things. So like, as you got to have a brand identity, and it's got to be strong. You don't have one, you got to be willing to work on one, but you also need to be willing to know when to break that identity for a specific thing. It can be a big shock for people, like, whoa, what the hell? Like if a super cutesy band suddenly puts out a blood-soaked metal looking video. No, I'm thinking not. I'm not thinking a metal band. I'm thinking like some pop artist suddenly wears corpse paint or whatever, or vice versa. Like a metal band does this really cutesy animated video or whatever. You got to know when to do that. And I think the other most important thing is you need to have an open mind, but you also need to say no. You need to know your stuff well enough to say, I appreciate you pushing the boundaries. I've bent on this and this, and I think that it was good. This, with all due respect, this thing, like, go fuck yourself. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
If somebody will say no, then you have no fear in coming to them with ideas, because if they feel like you're going to misrepresent their brand or their band, they will say no, and that creates an openness to allow you to have free dialogue and exchange of ideas. And I think that above all, that's the most important thing, and I appreciate somebody who can say no, because I hate open-ended things like waiting and being like, is this cool?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as far as, is it more important than having a traditional manager? I mean, I think a lot of bands need a traditional manager. A lot of bands need this, and some probably don't need either. I feel like as I develop in my relationship with the artists I work for, I become more of a manager for some of them. Like, that's how I started with Of Sulfur. It's like Ricky posted Brand of Sacrifice. I responded, I'm like, hey, I used to like see your band growing up. Like, thanks for sharing. That's pretty cool. And we started talking, and he asked if I would do marketing stuff for his band, and I did. And then I started doing stuff with them, and there was some things going on in the business side of things that I didn't think were optimized, direct to garment versus screening. I'm like, we're throwing away half of our money before we even get started there. So
Yeah.
I got that sorted, and then I just kind of became more of a manager. So I feel like hopefully that the lines kind of get blurred between them, where like managers do more creative ideas, and if somebody doesn't have a manager, they kind of let somebody in my position or whatever have a little bit more, I don't want to say like control, but yeah, I don't know, man. Like, it's weird because you don't want to be in a position. A lot of bands, most people, myself included, need somebody to say the hard things, to be like, no, you don't do it like that. Maybe you do need to go with this guy, a producer,
Right.
a lot of, a producer, I'm not saying an engineer. You can make a great sounding album in your bedroom, but sometimes people need that outside thing. And, so I do think that there is an important role for a manager to be like, you need to go to a producer, you need to do this. Like, but I think the creative stuff is super important as well,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
It gets people talking. And when people ask me what I do, because what I do is such a bastard child, like I'm a lot of people just like, you know, you hear marketing manager and they're just like, oh, you take out ads. And I'm like, sometimes, you know, I take
Yeah,
out
not
ads or
really.
like that's an ad buyer. That's its own thing, you know? And so I mean, shit, man, marketing manager. It's literally like it's a title that Brand of Sacrifice gave me, and I've just ran with it. Like I was, you know, me and them were like we were like our relationship is super weird, man. For like not weird, but it's just like the way we started working together was weird. You know, where I've known them for literal years through the grapevine, but like you know, like we had each other on Facebook, but wouldn't even talk when we would see each other in person. You know, one of
Yeah.
those weird
Oh
relationships where
yeah.
it's like you know who you are, and like you might kind of like if you're in like a mutual circle, like kind of nod at each other, but that's about it. And then did Doors for their old band for a show. We talked a bit. Uh, did an interview with them for a story, and sat on it for a while because I was trying really hard to shop it to an anime publication or like a nerd
Right.
publication.
Yeah.
Nobody picked it up. Kerrang picked it up. Bless them for that. You know, I'd been sitting on it for so long. I was just like, I just want this fucking story out there. I don't even fucking care.
So
Like,
someone take
you know,
this.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. And they were gracious enough to take it. I was actually, we premiered a music video at that time. I was in the music video because I was on tour and they texted me and said, yo, like they were just kind of venting. And Kyle was like, fucking people from our video bailed. Like, because why would he think that I could be in the video? Because I was on tour with a pop punk band.
Yeah.
But the night before the video shoot, it was our Toronto show. And the next night was Hamilton, which was like 45 minutes away. So I was able to just get my friend to drive me to the video shoot. We were in the video. So anyway, did that premiere. Then we kind of just kept bouncing ideas off each other, blah, 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 blah. And then it kind of slowly got more and more solid until I woke up one day with a Brand of Sacrifice wants you to accept control of Brad at brandofsacrifice.com.
Yeah.
Don't fucking email me stupid shit.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to get your band on tour with Brand of Sacrifice. I can't do it.
Yeah.
But you know, and then it said marketing manager in my signature, and that's what I am. But it's a role that a lot of people have serious misconceptions about, and I have serious misconceptions about, like, because it's so hard to define. It's such a fluid thing.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's a broad term for sure. It's a broad
Yeah,
term.
like
Yeah.
the main thing I say is I get people to talk about your band. That's my number one thing.
Yeah.
You know, and that differs, you know, for a lot of bands. For Of Sulfur, they're super like anti-religion stuff. So I hit up the Satanic Temple and they did an interview with us. We were literally interviewed by the Satanic Temple because I thought that would be cool.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
You know, but like for some bands it's different, you know, it's a fluid thing. But I don't even remember what the question was at this point, dude.
It's no, it's just you know how you get creative and how you do your marketing ideas, and you know you've basically touched on every point. How you garner attention for bands, you know, cutting through the noise, you know, making things creative and interesting. You know, I have another question here that's, you know, how important is it for a brand or for a band to have an image or a brand, which you also kind of touched on. But a question that I do kind of want to get your take on, because obviously, so, you know, social media is a big deal. It's, you know, something we're all a part of. You know, it's important for that front end perception of bands to have a good social media following. What new marketing avenues do you think bands are either taking advantage of properly or not taking enough advantage of right now? Like, you know, there's, you know, everybody's trying to get on TikTok. It's massively, you know, grown from even 2 years ago into just this bigger than every other social media platform. You know, everybody's doing podcasts like this one's. There's all kinds of collaborations musically. We just had Frank Godla from, you know, Metal Injection doing the Slay at Home thing on as our guest last week. You know, what does your barometer say on kind of the temperature of all these different things?
I mean, dude, I work with Carcosa, and they dropped a new track today. 2 new tracks, actually. Go watch them on Revolver and pre-order the album. But no, seriously. And they're fucking huge on TikTok. Andrew Baina, he's also a guitar YouTube man's, and him and Johnny do these videos where it's like pre-breakdown mosh call outs, but they're compliments, or dad jokes or tongue twisters
Yeah.
or pickup lines or whatever. And so they're crushing it there. And so it's a weird thing because TikTok feels at times antithetical to metal because it's, you know, it's younger and people, you know, might not necessarily be into extreme metal at that age. Or I mean, I wasn't, you know, when I was, you know, people are using TikTok when they're like fucking 13. You know,
Yeah.
I think I was listening to Sum 41 at 13. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
31 now and I'm still listening to Sum 41, but you know, it's but it's possible. I mean, the funny thing is about these TikTok videos that Andrew Dana and Johnny Chardulo do, the Carcosa guys, is despite the fact that they're metal based, I feel like they primarily appeal to non-metal fans.
Yeah.
You know, the oh, I can be, this is kind of funny and this is kind of edgy, and but I can understand what they're saying, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's the primary market there. And it does help. It definitely helps as far as, you know, the monthly has gone up and stuff, but it's not as huge a gain as you think from them having millions and millions and millions and millions of views there. But I think it's cool, and it's something that people aren't necessarily fully utilizing. I mean, I'm personally not fully utilizing it either. I have it and I've made a couple, but like the prospect of sitting down and spending that much, honestly, dude, the older I get, the less I care about my personal socials.
Yeah.
My socials, if you look at it, it's like all work stuff that I'm just trying to pump.
Yeah.
And this prospect of sitting there and making a fucking TikTok for myself, just who cares about you, dude?
Yeah.
Like, let's keep talking to myself, you know, who cares about you, you know? And I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think people could use TikTok better, and I have a lot of ideas for them, and I've suggested some to some of my bands and shit, man. If they go ahead with them, hell yeah. I think that they should. I definitely need to get more involved with using it myself.
Yeah.
Everybody, you know, doing podcasts and stuff. I have a really weird relationship with that as a journalist. I think it's journalistic integrity. I think it's very unethical for the majority of the bigger publications to be based or to be hosted by musicians. Because they're not going to ask the hard questions. They're not going to try to rock the boat. I mean, granted, journalism has been going down that path for a long time because there's so many publications now and there's such a low barrier to entrance that anybody can start a publication. And if anybody can start a publication, if you rock the boat, they'll just fucking knock you off their list and they don't care.
Yeah.
So I think, journalistic ethics in music journalism, it's it's not, you know, and I honestly, like, whatever. It's music, it's fun, it should be fun.
Yeah.
But I have a really weird double-edged sword with musicians running the majority of the larger platforms because of what I said there. That being said, sometimes, and a lot of the time, I don't care because it leads to good conversation.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain things that you can speak about that having a musician's perspective is so much different. One of the things that I've been focusing on with Carnifex is, you know, they've said that on their last album, they kind of chased the dragon of mainstream metal acceptance. You know, the big budget music video, they had Alyssa from Arch Enemy on a song, and they feel like it didn't connect. And the lyrics were kind of about like a war and not the kind of sad boy lyrics that Scott kind of built brand on. And so they basically told me that they feel that they've lost, it didn't connect as well because they kind of lost some of what made Carnifex. And so I've been actually suggesting that we focus on that a lot, especially for podcasts run by musicians and stuff, because I'm sure every musician has a story where they've gone down that path of, you know, whether it's chasing mainstream acceptance or whether it's chasing the flavor of the month sub genre influence or something. Like, every musician is going to have a good story there, and they can have that conversation in a way that a journalist can't.
Right.
So I have a really weird thing with the podcast thing because of those conflicting things. I think it's great, and I think it's also not great. I think it can coexist as long as traditional journalism exists as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, but yeah, and the other thing about everybody starting a podcast, and the reason that it's taken me so long is so many people don't have a idea for the podcast. It's just,
Yeah, it's just like
I'm gonna
let's
talk
talk
about,
about stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like give me something unique about it. And I have ideas, and I've started working on it. I had fucking Road Mike's graciously gifted me a bunch of stuff to start my podcast, and then all my marketing and management stuff got hella busy, so I haven't started it yet. But it's a thing that I'm trying to do. But yeah, bands and labels just need to, in general, be better. I think with their own content. Because then you can keep people in your ecosystem, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you see the videos on, whatever record label's YouTube channel, and it's like, what was making your new album like? Like, what are your influences? I'm like, dude, you have the best access to this band in the entire world.
Yeah.
You're asking the dumbest question. I'm like, isn't there so much incentive to make awesome content, and then it keeps people in that ecosystem? And then, oh, we're trying to sell tickets for a tour right now. We can just put a card annotation right at the start of this video, and then it pumps people through and keeps them in here. And I feel like, I don't know. I feel like I've kind of lost the plot with the question because I like to ramble and I have a lot of feelings about a lot of these things. But yeah, TikTok can be cool, and it can have a place in metal. Starting your own podcast is cool. I think if any band ever starts to only do interviews with their friends and refuse interviews from bigger publications who might ask them challenging questions, or not bigger publications, but less, in their circle publications, I think you're a fucking coward.
Yeah.
Because I think both those things need to exist for either of them to exist.
Yeah.
And yeah, as far as what other things people aren't doing, is just, man, just think more outside the box.
Yeah.
All the time.
Absolutely.
Always.
Absolutely. Think about what people aren't doing and how you can do it. How you can bring something else to the table, to a table that's already very full. I have to go back to what you were saying about podcasts, though, because you mentioned something that I thought was very interesting, that I feel like this podcast has been striving to do and has accomplished in a pretty good way, is just getting outside your ecosystem. You know what I mean? Like going, interviewing people from different bands, or from the back end of the music industry, or from the journalism side of things, like getting as many different spotlights on all these different parts of the music industry that all have so much to offer, and like really bringing it all to the same focal point. It's important, and I think that you're dead on with it, where it's just like, if you just run this super insular, super just like, only like this echo chamber almost of like a way you present yourself to the public, you're doomed. Like it's so important to have all those outside elements, as something that you're associated with and a part of. So I think it's really cool that you mentioned that. So
I mean, can I ask you a question right now?
Yeah, sure.
You guys on this don't just, outside of me, being a non-industry or a non-band person, like, you guys, I'm sure I've seen it, but you guys interview bands that are not metal bands, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's something I thought, because I've thought before the pandemic, I had half an idea to pitch a bunch of record labels and just be like, hey, your in-house content isn't great. If you make, like I was saying, if you have great content, you can keep the bands in there. If you do it well enough, like a position like that will literally pay for itself.
Yeah. Well, everyone benefits from it, right? It's like the band benefits because they're, the band member benefits. They get a platform, to talk about what they're doing, to talk about their new endeavors. The label or the host or whoever it might be benefits because they're getting more eyes on the, from an outside source onto their label or their publication or their whatever it might be. Like, everybody benefits when you are mutually inclusive of metal as a genre and not just like your focus group. Yeah, absolutely. So Yep, that's the way to do it, man. That's those of you watching and listening, keep that in mind. You don't want to get what I call hometown hero syndrome, where it's like we only play shows in our hometown because everybody likes us there, and whenever we play out, everybody hates us. So we're just gonna stay home forever. Like you got to get past that uncomfortable thing of and that's not just if you're in a band; it's if you're doing really anything. You just have to get out of that comfort zone because that's really where you're gonna grow. Um, so speaking of growing, you work obviously with a lot of different genres. Even just within your metal bands, what genres do you see kind of growing fastest right now? Or coming into popularity or coming back into popularity according to trends that you might be seeing in metal overall?
I mean, first of all, I see this motherfucker in chat saying Deathcore sucks, and Deathcore's back, baby. You're
Yeah,
fucking wrong.
dude, Deathcore's huge.
And it's not even peaked yet. Give it a couple more years and it'll be at its peak. And no hate to this guy. He's talking about Melodeath. I love me some Melodeath too, but
Yeah.
to say Deathcore has no validity is like, you fucking wrong, baby.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, man. Everything goes in cycles, and I mean, considering what's huge right now, we're coming off of that kind of chaotic metallic hardcore stuff.
Yeah.
Being popular. Like it's bigger than ever. Like Gnostics is the fucking biggest band.
Yeah.
Good for them. And that's been big. New metal coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, primarily influenced by metalcore and stuff, not pure new metal. I'm sure some of that exists and whatever. It's not my thing. But yeah, like that new metal coming back is proof that everything is going to come back, dude. Because that was the most maligned subgenre of metal since like hair metal and stuff. And did hair metal ever really come back other than like Steel Panther?
Yeah, not really. Like you have like there was like the Darkness there for a minute, like in the late 90s, early 2000s doing their thing, and then Steel Panther. But Steel Panther's like a parody satire type of thing.
That's why it's never come back, because they fucking won. They defeated it. They won the genre.
Yeah.
They are
top shelf. Yeah. When I saw that Limp Bizkit Spirit Box thing get announced, I had to go like check outside to make sure that like the sun was still shining. Like I wasn't experiencing like a glitch in the Matrix. Like that blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was just like, Limp Bizkit and Spirit Box? Like, I mean, sick, but like, what? Like, yeah, it was crazy. And it's kind of a sign of the times. Like the fact that Limp Bizkit can come back and start touring, like just drop of the hat is so impressive to me.
Dude, I just like itched my nose here, and then like it plays back like slightly after on the YouTube, and it looked like I picked my nose. I swear to God, I was scratching the edge right here.
Yeah.
I'm not picking my nose on the Metal Blade live series, y'all. I mean, I will if.
I mean, dude, go ahead. There's no rules here.
But yeah, okay. So that's been big, right? And then what came after that? We had more melodic metalcore stuff like Killswitch Engage and As I Lay Dying and stuff. And I think this is going to be a weird one for Revival. I think it's going to be a weird one for Revival because it never went away. It got assimilated into every fucking genre of metal. So for it to have a revival is kind of a weird thing because Melodeath riffs through like the metalcore filter kind of it permeated everything. Mm-hmm. And so for it to come back, I don't think it might have not a revitalization, but like it'll be purified to its essence of what those people think that is. I feel like a band like Risk Meet Razor are one of the first ones on that. Like they started a little bit more screamo and then a little bit more chaotic, but they're kind of adding more of that era of metalcore, and I think they're ahead of the times because I think that stuff's going to get much more popular soon. Again, I mean,
I think a similar phenomenon that's happening right now is with black metal. It's like black metal kind of got a resurface for a little bit and has now just permeated like everything. Like there's blackened everything. Like there's so many like a lot of deathcore that I see right now has black metal influences all over it. And it's funny too because it's like different types of black metal, right? Like whether it's symphonic black metal or like old school sounding black metal, like there's this like you said, this like kind of permeation of it across metal genres, which is an interesting thing in and of itself, how certain genres can like never really go away, but like morph and kind of change and seep into all these other different genres of music.
Yeah, it's yeah, black and deathcore is definitely the cool thing in deathcore and will be for the next year and a half, just like slamming deathcore was for the year and a half before that.
Yeah.
And there will be, I don't know what's going to happen after that.
Metalcore, deathcore. There we go.
Yeah,
That's
dude,
what's
I mean
next.
that's brand of sacrifice, baby. We
Yeah.
leading the fucking the wave with that. I mean, that was when I first started talking to them about getting more involved. That was like the first. I was like, I want you guys to be the heaviest band that metalcore kids listen to.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the goal. And I mean, it's working as far as like, went back and, when people would tweet, what's your favorite album of the year so far? At the start of when the album first came out, a lot of the tweets that we were getting were us with other deathcore bands. And then now it's us with Era and, other metalcore bands and stuff. So it's certainly working there. Also, yeah. I've seen this guy in the chat saying that I'm not responding to the chat typing because my brain would explode if I tried to do too many things. Yeah. But saying that Whitechapel is the only band innovating in deathcore, and to that I say you're not listening to enough deathcore.
Whitechapel's great, and I love the new direction that they're going. Awesome. And yeah. what they've been doing within deathcore certainly is innovative, but there's a lot of innovation going on in deathcore as a whole right now.
I mean, we have Kardashev in the chat, man, and it's like deathcore shoegaze. Like, yeah. How is that not innovative? That's yeah. The most fucking. On paper, that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. You can't make that music, but they have, and they've done it fucking remarkably.
It sounds so good.
Yeah, like,
yeah, absolutely.
And then, like I said, like brand of sacrifice, and not to toot, my guy's own horn. It's not my own, my guy's horn. I don't know. Tooting your guy's horn sounds questionable, but like they're a very unique band, and there's plenty of innovation in deathcore. It's just like you're not looking far enough, I guess. If that's what you think, and yeah. I implore you to do so. Yeah. One thing I think about Signs of Swarm, I just finished writing their bio the other day, and the way I see that band is kind of like they're a band that is unaffected by trends. Yeah. They have slamming parts without being a slamming deathcore band. They have blackened parts without being a blackened deathcore band. They have all these influences that swirl around them as in their time as a band, but they don't change with them. And I think that that's an asset for them because look what it did for a band like Die Hard Is Murder. Yeah. Just being a straight up. We're a deathcore band. We play deathcore how we want to play it, and it shifts and ebbs and flows. And their consistency has done wonders for them, Yeah. And I think that that's really cool. But yeah, there's so much creative stuff I think going on in deathcore, and mainstream metal is taking notice. I can tell you that for sure because I have heard it directly from people involved in various facets of the industry that they are changing their position on deathcore. It is not an industry joke anymore. I'm fucking sick of people treating it as such. It is a legitimate genre with legitimate artistry, and it pisses me off when people just think it's, fucking dudes with fucking straight ironed hair and skinny jeans playing breakdowns, because that was the lowest common denominator about it, because it was very easy for people to play that bullshit.
But also, it's not like 2009 MySpace era anymore. Like it's evolved as genres tend to do in a span of 11 years. Like
yeah. Dude,
yeah.
It's such a good genre, dude. If you really let yourself get in it, dude. And the thing about that Whitechapel album, dude, I had people who aren't into deathcore texting me and being like, dude, why did you not tell me to listen to this album? Like, this is great. And I'm like, because you don't like deathcore. I didn't know that this would be the one to change you. But like people who don't like deathcore, like Daniel from Banger. I mean, he's not like a Daniel DK from Banger. I mean, like, he's not like a touted deathcore hater, but he's certainly more of like a thrash guy. And he was like, this album's phenomenal. And yet Whitechapel is absolutely like top of the food chain, like, I mean, I said it in my Whitechapel review, for the Valley. I mean, Phil Bozeman, top 5 vocalists ever. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say that any genre ever. Like, what the fuck? Like, you kidding me? Like, a dude can go that low and have that creative vocal patterns and then do those highs and sing like that? Are you fucked? Like, top 5 vocalist ever. I don't even fucking care. I'm putting him up. I don't care. Who's the most popular vocalist? Fucking Prince. Prince and Phil Bozeman. Fuck you. No, I mean, that's gonna piss people off. But I don't care, man. I don't care. Deathcore is a beautiful thing, man. If you're too stuck in the fact that deathcore is not cool anymore, you're doing yourself a disservice, and the rest of the industry is waking up. And fuck you. That being said, Whitechapel's going to put out a motherfucker of an album this year. I'm sure of it. I'm very excited.
Hell yeah. Well, in the interest of not keeping you on here for all day, what else? I have one last question for you. So, what else do you have coming up for the rest of 2021 and 2022? You know, obviously working with your bands. Give me those plugs. Drop those plugs on me.
Yeah. Shit, man. We got Sulfur EP. Dude, let's see if I can check this out. Let's see if I can remember all the release dates, which I can't. But I'm going to do my best here. I've got a Sulfur EP August 6th. They have a release weekend tour that weekend. They've got some more stuff coming up that we're announcing soon as far as shows. We have the Carcosa album coming out August 19th. They have no touring plans. Maybe we will eventually. Okay, I'm trying to like chronologically think. The Aborted album comes out September 10th. They do have touring plans in Europe. I don't remember when it is, but I think like February next year. We have the Carnifex album. I want to say September 24th. They have all the touring plans. They're going out in like a week and a half on the road to Rockfest, and then they're going out on that motherfucker of a Black Dahlia, After Burial, Undeath, Rivers of Nile tour, which is crazy ass tour. And then they just actually today announced a Euro tour with Chelsea Grin, Lorna Shore, and Burials and the Convalescence. The Signs of the Swarm album it's in September 17th, maybe 17th or 24th. Dude, I got all my dates are in September. That's the thing. It's fucking me up.
Too many birthdays.
Yeah, and they have more stuff, coming up that is they're announcing something tomorrow, but I can't tell you what it is.
I'll keep an eye out for that.
Yes. Kardashev. I don't know, Nico. Tell me when you're releasing new stuff. we have to catch up soon. Nightwell, the emo band, is doing music. It's starting to come out next month. We're dripping shit out. You know what I mean? It's not we're doing singles, and then yeah. My internet connection is unstable. What the fuck you mean?
Get out of here, Zoom.
Yeah, get out of here, Zoom. Nobody likes you. Brand of Sacrifice has other stuff going on, but I'm not allowed to tell you about it. Yeah. I'll probably end up working for other bands because I can't stop. I'll probably do some more banger videos because I can't stop. I'm probably gonna start producing some cool stuff. I started to do these like HM2 wallets that look like the little fucking sweet metal pedals. But then the production wasn't up to snuff how I wanted it to be. But so I put and because of it, the world opening up again and stuff, like minimum numbers were changing and stuff. So we put a stick in it and fucked off for a while. I'm going to revisit that later, but I have bigger plans for that. Yeah, man.
Lots of stuff. Lots of stuff.
Yeah, just follow me on the internet, man. I tweet about and post on Facebook and Instagram. No, mostly just Instagram and Twitter. Facebook don't add me on Facebook, please. I actually deleted my old Facebook because I had too many people on there that support my banger stuff, and I love them very much for that. But I couldn't see my friends and families from at home's posts anymore, so I decided I just nuked my old Facebook, and I decided that my old Facebook is a safe haven for my people I know in my personal life. So don't add me on there, with all due respect, but talk to me all you want on Twitter and Instagram. I respond as much as I can. And that's the best way to keep up on all this shit, man, is those things. Because it will change. Like I said, like I will probably work with more bands. I will probably do more stuff.
Hell yeah.
Life has a way. Hey, somebody gave this video a thumbs down. Fuck you.
Yeah.
This video is great.
It was the guy.
Great.
It was the guy you yelled about deathcore at. That's who it is. He's mad about it.
Nice. I see him up here. He's hurt. He said, I mean, harsh vocals, but having those moody cleans that Whitechapel had on the Valley is what I want to see more. Okay, see, he recanted. He did. He admit that they're not the only one doing it, but he wants to see more of that.
Hell yeah. Well, that's good. That's a step in the right direction. Well, yeah. Brad, dude, thank you so much, man, for hanging out. It was super awesome talking to you. For those of you watching, his social links are right there. Basically, just at Brad Seed in Instagram, Twitter, all those things. And yeah, dude, it was a really fun conversation. I love talking to back end people. It's always a lot of fun. I always come away with something new from every one of these conversations. So thank you for sharing with all of us, and I hope we can catch up again sooner than later.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, dude. All right, everybody. Thank you again for watching. This is the Metal Blade Live series. I'm Riley McShane, your host and singer for Allegion. We will be back next Wednesday with another guest. Drink more water from Liquid Death. All right, everybody. See you next time.